Hello everyone, here I am another time. I am Gabriel, I am 20 years old and I am Brazilian, as you know. Uh, this time I am here to tell you some curiosities about my country, about Brazil. And if you are planning to come to Brazil, I think there are some things that you have to know about this incredible country. At first, I would like to tell you about the a little bit about the Brazilian history. Uh, Brazil was a Portuguese colony, as you know, and Brazil was discovered by the Portuguese people in 1500, 500 years ago, and that time the wealth and the power of some kingdoms were measured, considering the amount of gold and silver those kingdoms had. Uh, that's why at the first they were looking for gold and silver here in Brazil. But you know, Brazil is a very large country, it's a very large place. So at the beginning, they didn't find what they were looking for. They didn't find gold and silver. So 30 years before, they decided to cultivate sugarcane here in Brazil, and that way they could make money, of course, and they could explore the interior of Brazil in a better way. So Brazil was a Portuguese colonia. Brazil was a Portuguese colony, and it makes all the difference between Brazil and the rest of Latin America. Uh, that's why we speak Portuguese here. We don't speak Spanish. A lot of people think that we speak Spanish in Brazil, and that's not true. Uh, the Brazilian people prefer to learn English than Spanish. I don't know the reason, because practically all the Latin America speaks Spanish, and here in Brazil the people should be interested on learning Spanish, not English. But the people prefer to speak English. I don't know the reason, but Spanish is a little popular here in Brazil, but the English language is much more popular here. And the Brazilian history is quite different from the history of the rest of Latin America, and that's why we are different. Uh, the Brazilian language, for example, Portuguese, this is the first difference from the Brazil and the rest of the Latin America. And the food, the Brazilian food is very different, but the Brazilian food is very good. If you are planning to come to Brazil, I think you will have no problem with the Brazilian food. Uh, the Brazilian music, this is also very different from the rest of the Latin America. For example, in Latin America there are rhythms very famous like cumbia, tejano music, tango. Well, those rhythms, they are not very popular here in Brazil. Here in Brazil we like samba. I think you know samba, forró, and axé. Uh, those are the famous Brazilian rhythms. Uh, and some people from many countries, they think that here in Brazil we dance cumbia. We don't dance cumbia. We dance samba and forró, but not cumbia. And there is something that practically nobody knows about Brazil. Uh, the American music is much more popular here in my country than the other Brazilian rhythms. Samba, for example. The American music, pop music, is much more popular than samba. And if you come to Brazil, I think you will have no problem with the Brazilian people, because they used to be very kind and very sweet. Oftenly they are very kind. And I think you will have no problem with the Brazilian food as well, because it's a very good food. Well, I think it's a very good food. And Brazil is a very beautiful place to be. Many beaches and many forests and many animals, mountains, animals like araras, papagaios, but beware the sharks on the beach. If you go to Recife, Pernambuco state, there are many sharks there, so you have to take care. But despite of the sharks, there are no problem with the Brazilian beaches. They are very beautiful, and the Brazilian temperature is very hot. It's very warm, and that's why the Brazilian people like to be always on the beach. And that's what I have to say. I really want to see all of you here in my country, and this is an invitation. There is something that sometimes bothers me. The people who come to Brazil, they study Spanish to come here. And we don't speak Spanish. So please, if you want to come to Brazil, don't speak Spanish. I mean, if you speak Spanish, okay, you can speak Spanish with us. But if you are planning a trip to Brazil, study Portuguese. Don't study Spanish to come here. If you speak Spanish, we are gonna speak Spanish with you without any problem. But if you are planning to come, don't study Spanish. Speak Portuguese, because it will be much better for you. We don't speak Spanish here, so it's better for you to speak Portuguese like us. So that's what I have to say. It's an invitation. Come to Brazil, and I am sure you will have a great time here in my country. And thank you for watching this video, and I see you on the next video. Thank you, bye bye.